Show me clear how you play.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes it's hovering off the ground, and I'll walk into a light. It looks like it's about the size of a broomstick, but it's a long, narrow light, and I walk into it, and it just pulls me up, defragments me, and then reassembles me on board. And sometimes if we're leaving the Earth's atmosphere, they will put a belt on me so that it'll hold my physicality together, especially for hopping dimensions. Okay, well, I've never been to sixth density. I have been on board at one time where there were sixth density beings visiting the ship, and I could only see them through my peripheral. When I turned my head to look at them directly, my mind simply couldn't conceive them. But for some reason, from my peripheral, I could see something. I could make out certain features. When I first started going on board into fifth density, there were a lot of things I couldn't see. I would constantly ask in the very beginning, Morine to say, well, there's nothing here. And they would just smile because my eyes and my mind hadn't been trained yet to adapt to the vibration. Mm-hmm. It's not like you go up there and it's like the mall. It isn't like that at all. It came over time, and they would just focus. In the beginning, I would be in a room with them, and there would just be conversation. And that's how it started. And as I began to notice things in the room, and my awareness of what was in the room became more prominent, then they would start to move me out to other parts of the ship. So it was a process. It was a process because my mind didn't know it. It didn't recognize any of it, and therefore it didn't exist. And I think science fiction movies have done great in helping prepare people for this eventuality of meeting star family, because now we have it in our consciousness. If you remember, I think it was Columbus or Cortez, their ship was right offshore, and the Indians couldn't see it because they didn't see it. They never conceived anything like that could exist. So it was only a matter of time when they began to visualize and see it. And now that's the process. You feel lighter. You feel bigger than you are. I want to say taller. I was told by Perseus that there is more spirit in place, because when you move to a higher vibration, you can hold more of your true essence in your physical body. In third density, it's very slow. It's very dense. But as you move up into fourth and then into fifth, and I'm assuming that it exists beyond that, that you feel more of your essence. It's like you're bigger than your body, and you know it. I don't recall ever once experiencing any physical pain at all being in their presence. In fact, there isn't any physical pain up until 3 days after I've come back from an experience. And then when gravity really affects my physicality again, because again, the body adjusts, then all the pains come back, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They can cure diseases.
The Andromedans use color, light, and holographic tools for healing. Now, it's not that they catch a disease, but occasionally some of their scientists that are out in the world, or they're exploring a comet or exploring a quasar, accidents happen, all right? And in that case, they would have to fix their physicality. One of the things that they do is they have this camera that is the most remarkable thing I've ever seen. This camera takes a picture of you. They remove the film. The film has your picture from the moment you were conceived to the present moment that they take your picture. It has your entire life right there. Now let's say that you are suffering from a cancer, What they'll do is they would take a portion of that slide, that picture of you, where your body was the strongest. They will take that out. They will remove the rest of the film. They will take that picture, that piece of this picture of you where your body is the strongest, the most vibrant. Doesn't matter the age. And they will put it back into the camera and project that holographic image over your body. And within moments, you're healed. It's just that quick.
When disclosure occurs, when humanity, and I do not know how this looks, okay, and I do not know when this is going to occur, but when humanity is free and we ask for assistance, there will be a multiple of races that have a genetic connection to Earth, and only those that have a genetic connection to races on the planet. Introductions will be made. As far as, and at that point, presentations will be made to all of Earth. We as a collective will decide what we want to do at that point. This is a little different than what we're used to. Presentations will be made. We will also be introduced to the galaxy as well. Now, as far as technology, they will not be giving us technology right off the bat. However, what they will do is they will say, okay, you have this technology already on your planet. You know, you can take these circuit boards, you can tweak it just this way, and it will do this. You have this technology, and if you tweak it just that way and add it to this particular piece of technology that you have, you can use it in this way. According to the A's, we already have the technology available to make the holographic camera here on Earth. And in fact, I've heard that Randy Kramer, that he's already heard we have these cameras, that we already have this technology. So what they would do first is show us the technology that we do have, show us how to use it responsibly before they would introduce us to anything else. In other words, as we would learn to trust them, they would learn to trust us. It's a relationship. That's what it's about. We are still in a physical form in a very strong gravitational field, which is known as third density to us. And our body is aging. That doesn't mean that it can't stay young or stay healthy. It's just that our DNA has been manipulated, or things have been turned off. They were done specifically to shorten our lifespans, which made us all more controllable. When I'm with them, I never feel safer than when I'm with them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you talk about bulletproof. I feel absolutely safe, and I feel absolutely whole. And I don't know how else to explain it. I feel complete. It's like I'm with kindred souls. It's so hard to explain. It's something that you experience that's greater than anything you can experience here, only because there's more of you there than there is down here. I've never been present for the birth of an Andromedan child, but what I have been told is that they're all born in water, and yes, they have full recognition of who they were before they came in. And as they grow and mature physically and mentally, there are some things that they have to learn. For example, however much time it was when they were not in the physical form, let's say that they have not been in part of the Andromedan civilization. I'll use that as an example. The Andromedan civilization for, let's say, 350 years in their time between physical incarnations. They would have to make that up. And the A's do that. The youngest, as they're growing up, are taught everything that is now present. It is called the law of consistency. They don't say, okay, well, you can't learn about this information because you're not part of a black project, or you are not a science teacher. So, these sciences are restricted to pharmaceutical companies or to aerospace companies. They don't do any of that crap. And it's just nuts. This is why everybody is the same. Everybody learns what is real now
and present. Now, their children are probably far smarter than anyone on this planet. They go to school for 150 years, our time.
When I got up there, Mornay met me on the platform where I beamed up, and he took me down a hallway, and as we were walking down the hallway, another door opened, and it was a separate room from the command center where the pilots sit. And Viseus was there, and he was looking at all these charts. And he turned, and he looked very sad. And he said, you know, do none of you realize what you have here? And of course I knew. Of course I knew. And there have been times that I've been incredibly embarrassed. Like one time, I was on board one of their motherships, and the center of each of the floors on their craft are parks. And they're, you know, tens of miles wide, where it's nature. And this is where they educate the children in a setting like this. And I remember the first time I walked towards the children with Mornay, the children looked at me and they moved like they were frightened. And I immediately felt it. You know, I immediately felt it. And Mornay, who was standing right next to me, being telepathic, he knew exactly what I was experiencing. And he said, it isn't you. We have been teaching them about your race. So there have been so many times where I've been embarrassed. But, you know, at the same time, I know the potential that we have. I know the bad hand we've been dealt from almost the very beginning. I think in a lot of ways today, many of us, we're overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed with data. We're overwhelmed with information. We're overwhelmed with the challenges. We're overwhelmed with stress. Having lived out of a car, I have a very unique perspective, especially to those who haven't.
At a time in the near future when it is obvious that the regressives and the powers that be have lost control and humanity has truly been freed, and we are able to stand on our own and be responsible for ourselves without being coerced to accept some higher authority. Benevolent groups will come down from different races. They will begin a briefing of Earth's true history. Using technology, they will absolutely show us the past. They will show us who in the past did what. And they will work in concert with humans from Earth to go inside the planet and remove the last remnants of nests and hives of regressive ETs. This movement, this cleansing of the earth of the remnants of these regressive groups that have been here and hiding in the shadows, this will be done in concert with other benevolent groups. They will be working with our military, our special forces, our geologists, our medics, to go into the earth. This will be a joint venture, and to remove this negative field from the planet once and for all. And there will come a point where they all have this choice now to leave on their own. There will come a point where that window is going to close. And when that window is closed, then the next steps have to be taken. Once we are all brought up to speed as to what has really been going on Earth, who has been behind it, I don't think there'll be anyone who won't want to volunteer to help fix, to remedy this negative influence that has plagued our race for thousands and thousands and thousands of years.